Hello again, welcome to episode 13 of this career mode playthrough. So, a brave new world. Let's get back into this. Fresh from episode 12, we have now walked on the Mun. What we now need to do is build on that. So, the missions we have: rendezvous 2 vessels in orbit of the Mun, and position a satellite in polar orbit of the Mun. Now I'm going to try and do both of those in one flight. Now I've unlocked the bigger parts, I can build what I jokingly refer to as my standard Mun lander. Now, those who know how to play this game are probably going to find this design ridiculous, because it is horrendously over-engineered. I don't care. This one here is going to be Mun Lander X, because this is the normal one. So what we do is we start off with that. I don't need monopropellant on this one, so I'm not going to put it on. We need the heat shield so we can get back, which I'm going to turn down to half its capability. I'm also then going to move this up a bit. So we have that. We put one of those underneath. You saw the last flight we did from Mun, so you can probably you'll recognise bits of this. That's that bit. There's a few other little bits and pieces it's worth putting on. Give it a triplet of solar panels. And there we are. That is the return portion. Now the next bit is where it gets slightly different, because unlike last time, where we had a descent stage and an ascent stage, actually I don't need that piece. I can do this. I think I can do it with that. We're going to try anyway, because all that's got to do is get lift off from Mun and get home. Doesn't have to do anything else. It's not. There's no. Ooh, it might have to do a bit of the landing mission. Yeah, it doesn't. And in fact, it can't. And the reason it can't is it doesn't get legs. What it gets is that put underneath. The body of the next stage is then a Science Junior. That then gets 3 of these attached to it. And I just need to position this one. And it goes on. They go on as high up like that as I can get them, basically. What I'm trying to do is get it so that this is as low as possible when it's landed. What we now do is put 3 of them under, and yeah, depending on what you want to do, there's a few ways. This can then be. So I just need to switch that for that one. This is the basic lander. I'll put the legs on it. Over time, the legs get enhanced. So over time, we get better and more legs. But to start with, they'll do. That's the basic lander. It needs a little bit of strengthening, so it gets some bracing put across there like that, and that's that. At the moment, that struggles going upwards. The reason it struggles going up is because it's got no anything else capability on board, which is a bit of a problem. So what we do is we go into that, give it the aero caps, which just help it go up, and then because we can, we add a few struts to that. So that's a fairly robust craft. It'll capable of lift off from the Mun, capable of landing on the Mun using these engines here. It usually lands on the Mun using the upper stage slightly. There are a few options that can be added to this. This can be given a service bay underneath. If I can find it. Cargo, no. Is it under utility? No. Payload. There we are. So you can put a... don't want it underneath there. I want it on that one. There. Now that... basically means these pods really need to come down a bit, but you can stick anything you want in that. Not doing that today. One of the things I usually, if I'll stick something in there, you can put a probe core in there, put some solar panels on this base bit, stick some antennas and stuff on board. and then when this thing lands, you have basically a robot base sitting there. What we also do is we go into science, drop that down to 1 because I need 1 here. It gets a goo pod, it gets one of those, and it gets one of those. They go on the bottom stage this time because now Kerbals can get out. They get out. Don't yet have ladders. Ladders would be nice, but I don't have them. What I do want to do, however, is add a few lights. Illuminator Mark 1s are useful for this. And these are offset a little bit, but they go down. Actually, mount them up a bit further. Their job is to illuminate the landing site and make working in the dark a bit easier. Now that is, 8.5 tons. That thing is quite heavy. And normally that's about it. However, this mission is going to be slightly different because I've said I want to drop a satellite off as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a decoupler there, which is going to have its force basically turned right off. I just want that to uncouple. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick a satellite here, and then we're going to put the booster underneath it. So the satellite is going to consist of a battery, a pod, because we know we need the pod, we know we need solar panels, go onto there like that. We know we need a goo pod because the mission says we need a goo pod for this, and I'm only going to put 1 of them on because I only want to put 1 of them on, so that's going to go there. Antennas get a little bit harder on this one because it's a little bit. It's basically I can't really put these on because they'll get in the way of the engines or something. Or maybe I can. I don't know. Let's have a look. There'll only be 2 of them regardless. If I put them there and go like not that, not that, that. If I do that, will that clear all the rocket exhausts? Yes, just about. Yeah, that'll do. We're going to try that. So that is my little satellite. Again, I'm going to put the thermometer on it because, as I've said before, you want a resettable science experiment on board these things. That now needs something else underneath it, and to be honest, the easiest thing to put underneath it to act as a bit of a spacer is another battery. So that's my satellite. So this stage can use these engines to manoeuvre this satellite where it needs to be. So we'll do that. We will again drop the decoupling force on that a little bit. And now we get the booster. See, we've used 49 parts already. I mean, to say recently we had a limit of 30. We've now used 49 bits in order to get this. Now this needs to work a little bit differently. That engine fires with this decoupler, because I want to keep hold of this until later on, and but it fires obviously before all that goes off. Yeah, we'll be leaving that in orbit. So what I now need is structural, because I need 1 of those, because what's going to come under this is going to be just a tad larger, to the point I'm going to drag this up again. This is now my semi-standard, not that one. That one, semi-standard upper stage, which gets a boodle shoved underneath it, and that's the get you into orbit and get you to Mun stage. As you can see, it is somewhat larger than we had previously. We now need another decoupler, which is going to be I think it's that one, which is the appropriate size. So that engine and that decoupler will fire together. And now we need I need to get off the ground stage, which is 2 of these. Doesn't need more than that. And then we go into the engines and we put a skipper underneath it, which is the big engine. Well, I say it's the big engine, it's one of the two big engines. But that on its own isn't enough. It's nearly enough, but it's not quite enough. And also with the amount of drag we have got on the top of this thing, which is not insubstantial, shall we say, it gets some fins. Coupling is those. And we put 6 of those on. And we put 6 of those on because I'm going to put 6 of these on as well, which is the get you off the ground bit. They need aero, so that goes on the top of that, and then again I need more struts. Need lots and lots more struts. Those go from there up to there, and then we need some struts on here to stop everything from being wobble-tastic. That main engine goes to there, and then we put the there. We put some launch clamps on, with a view to making this thing a little bit more stable on the pad. And if we zoom back a little bit, you can now see my love of over-engineering. So we have a lift stage with its boosters. We have the second stage, which will get us into orbit and transfer us to MUN, and hopefully break us in MUN orbit as well. Frequently there's enough in that for that actually to handle most of the landing stage. Won't be able to do that here because I've got that, but we're not actually landing this time, or yeah, well, we might. The goal of this one is to go rendezvous with the other satellite, which we can do with this engine stage attached. I'm going to put some more bracing on this because I've just spotted where it needs it. Yeah, we're going to go rendezvous with the other satellite. That's the idea. I'm then going to go into the orbit for this satellite, and we are going to drop this satellite off onto its orbital path. That'll do for that. That's the extra bracing that's needed. And once we've done that, in theory we're going to fly home. In practice, I'm going to see how much fuel there is left. If there's enough for a landing mission, this is going to stay in MUN orbit until we get a landing mission. But the aim here is that satellite and the rendezvous mission. So who are we going to send on this one here? Jeb. Val can take all the glory missions. Jeb can take this one. So here we are. This is significantly larger and quite a chunk more powerful. Again, we're going to get a sunrise, because sunrise is it means we can see what we're doing, which I think looks quite nice. I am going to again briefly pause because I'm going to take a screenshot of that. So the screen will go black briefly when I do this. That'll do, and then we'll be back. There is a key you can press to generate. I think it's F1, generate screenshots and just drops them into a folder. But I'm saving them in a specific place, and then doing terrible, terrible things to them. Right. Okay. MUN. With what can only be referred to as a mess. However, it does fly. As you can see, it's going up. And it burns away quite nicely. That skipper engine on its own won't get this airborne. That's basically designed to be the second stage engine for even bigger rockets. And then you have the Poodle as the third stage, which is a bit scary in some ways. The fact that rockets get even bigger than this. As I said, this is borderline my standard. Full throttle again. My standard lander. So they can all disappear down there. And then this carries on. Now it's slightly below 1G acceleration currently. But we have plenty of control heading upwards with a fair chunk of fuel. These fuel tanks are massive. I mean, this holds a stupid amount compared to those tanks we were using. There is a revised design of this. You can put liquid fuel boosters on it as well. To be honest, the solids do the job, so I tend to use those on this one. The liquids tend to come in when I've got a more powerful engine to sit on the bottom, then just 4 little boosters on the side is plenty. But for now we shall continue this. So I'm going to keep quiet until we are back in orbit, and then yeah, we'll carry on from there. And here we are in orbit, with 1800 meters per second left in that tank alone, which will make getting to Mun fairly straightforward. We're also about the right point, I think, to head Munward, so I'm going to do that, like so. And we're going to see how far off we are. There we are. I'm also going to do a course correction, but I'm going to do it shortly because I'm just about where that node is. So what I'm going to do is tell Jeb to hold that, and we're going to burn for Mun. Once I've got the Mun encounter, I'm going to get a little bit closer than it currently is, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to exchange it for a polar encounter, but a fairly high one. The chances of being like this way when I need to orbit this way is fairly slender, and because I want to rendezvous with the other satellite anyway, what I'm going to do is aim for a high one where I can use less fuel to sort myself out, if that makes sense. It'll make sense in a bit, honest. You can see we've got various other bits of junk in orbit, which I'll need to get rid of at some point, but we shall cross that bridge when we come to it. So for now, just going to start throttling down as we get nearer, and again as we get nearer still, at the encounter, and then stop. Right, that's that. What I now want to do is plot another manoeuvre about there. And then I want to go and have a look at Mun, like so. So I need to adjust this manoeuvre node. Like so. And do that to get us a little bit closer. And then that one a bit more, like that. And yeah, that'll do. We're going to try and rendezvous with this one. So I want to be coming in this way and going around, and that's... I could probably get... Well, that's how I can probably get better than that. Well, I know I can get better than that. Let's have a look. If I do that. Into there. If I say 13, what does that do? 13, yeah. 12.5. 12. 11. There we are. That's near as damn it over the poles directly. So yeah, that's what I want to do. 11 seconds worth of burn, and we're going to do that in a few moments. And that'll get us here. And as you see, that's again not using a significant amount of this fuel. We'll be able to get here, break into orbit, and then play with the rendezvous is the idea. So let me just get to about T-minus 5 seconds, or T-minus 6 seconds. Obviously the thing I forgot to do was align myself with the burn angle, which I forgot. Bit of a mistake, but never mind, we can hit that. And then, yeah, there, and then that. Ow. And that was my fault entirely. Jeb still trying to Why? Okay. Stability off, stability on. There we are, do that. Yes, yeah, I just need to... Come on, get back where it's supposed to be. So I'm fighting the controls here for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but there we go. Get it burning in approximately the right direction. We should be alright. There we go. So a little bit higher than I'd hoped, but it will do. And then we're going to get here and we're going to do some braking. So what I've now got to do is make sure we are collecting solar power, which we are. So let's now warp to there. And while we're at it, look at the spacecraft. And this is going to take us into a Mun encounter over the pole, which is quite nice. And then we'll stop there. Right, so what I now need to do is do a braking burn, and I'm going to do it there because it's easy. No, wrong button. Never mind. I can let Jeb handle this bit. A little bit of engine power. This craft doesn't particularly manoeuvre brilliantly. It could probably do with a reaction wheel or two adding. This is something possibly to add on to the satellite part of it, but there we go. And we're just going to get ourselves into a semi-rounded orbit, like so. Don't want to go too far. What I need to do now is set that as a target. And what we've now got to do is look at that. It says ascending node is such and such, so I need to come here. I need to add a maneuver, and we need to go one or other of these. I forget which one it is. That one. It's that one, like so. Just gone back onto an escape trajectory, but that's fine. I can bring that back down, like that. As you see, that's got me in the appropriate plane. I can do that and almost get near where I want it to be. Big problem with playing around with polar orbits. That one? No, not that one. Is the Mun itself actually gets in the way of playing with the maneuver. Right, so I'm going to do that. Do that. Now that's not going to get us there, but once I've got that, I can then twist the orbit a little bit further. So that's what we're going to do. So I need that. This time I will point myself in roughly the right direction. And then when we get down here, we'll do this burn. It's going to use a fair chunk of fuel. Plane changes like this are very, very expensive. So this may mean this lander won't ever land, but I'm not too bothered by that. Because obviously I've got to do another plane change to get into the orbital burn for the... to drop the other satellite off. But that's fine, because I need to drop this bit off first. So we're going to do that, get near there, and then warp to the maneuver is the simple method of doing this. It'll stop us slightly early, as it always does, which is fine. Now we're going to get to about T-minus 5 seconds. T-minus 6, and then hit the engines. This is also a bit more of a robust craft than we were using last time, so I can actually hit the engines at power here. we're going to get is an orbit which is... there we are. The orbital inclination is now about what it needs to. Node, it says... Get rid of that. Right, so... The node on that, 0.2. You see, that is about where that needs to be. What I now need to do is raise the other side of this orbit. This is the fun bit about getting an encounter. Basically, I'm going to be getting one side of this near the orbit of the other. See, this is where so the closest point is going to be there and there. So I need to raise the orbit slightly. Yeah, that'll do. A little more. And what that's saying is, at the intersect point, it'll be there, and I will be round here. Well, what I can do is warp around an orbit a bit, and we'll see what happens. See, we're now going to get closer as we go around. Ding, 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 ding. See, we're now going to get quite a lot closer. I mean, it's 600 odd kilometres, but yes, because it reckons we're going to be around here now instead. Okay, yeah. Well, what I'm going to do when I get to here, I'm going to see this. Yeah, the intersect point keeps changing, which is slightly annoying. Right. So if I now go here, I can go target, or I should be able to go target. It'll tell me where the target is. See, I now need to retrograde to the target with more fuel than I've got, but why not? See what we can do. See, the point here is if I slow myself down relative to the target, yeah, that's... What I do is I slow myself down relative to the target, and I then point myself at the target, is the idea. So that puts me like that to there. Dink, we jettison that. We fire these engines. That'll do. And now I need to go prograde with point towards the target, wherever it is. Which is not that. The pointing towards the target is this marker here. Like that. So I now go. I think it's that marker, so I need to. Yes, I need to. You see, all this is now doing is pushing my orbit position out. This. Yeah, so I've completely screwed this up at this point. Because we're now on an escape trajectory and I need to put myself back into an orbital trajectory again. Yes, I have completely and utterly cocked that up. Not to put too fine a point on it. Yeah, we're actually on an escape out of Kerbin currently as well, which is a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is go back to being in orbit. I'm going to burn this way. Hope that works. That has worked. Kerbin Periapis there. I'm going to add a manoeuvre and brake back into orbit. And then we're going to go home from there, not to put too fine a point on it. This isn't going to work. I don't have the fuel capability to do what I need to do, or I don't believe I do. No longer going to worry about setting that. Mind you, might be able to. We'll see. But I'm going to be using a lot of my final stage fuel to do it, which means I'm going to have to ditch the little satellite, which is slightly annoying. So yeah, we're going to go down like that. I'm going to go. What I'm going to do is try to use as little fuel as possible. What I want to end up on is a... I don't want to end up on a... Well, I'm currently on a escape trajectory, which I don't want to be on. Yeah, that'll do. We'll do that. So this will take us here. We're going to go quite low. I'm then going to go over here like this. Oh, it's pure retrograde one, which is good. It means Jeb can hold it for me. What that now means is I've ditched that little satellite. Which I may or may not go back to. I don't know. And I'm actually going to cut it there. The reason I'm going to cut it there is I can take being on that as an orbital trajectory. Not put too fine a point on it. One lander X debris. Switch to. See what this will let me. Where do I? What I'm wanting to do is switch to the. No, set as target. Oh, just give me switch to. Right. One lander one relay. Here we are. Here's the satellite. What I'm going to do is extend its antenna. I'm going to extend that antenna as well. I'm just going to put it so that it'll generate power like that. Map. I'm going to go back to our intrepid space explorer here. Cancel that. Drop out of here. I've got the fuel to get home safely from here, so I'm quite happy with that. Whilst I'm happy with it, I'm not happy with it. I'd rather... yes, I'd rather not have cocked it up, to be honest. But anyway, we shall try again next time round. Basically, I've screwed up the rendezvous manoeuvre. Here's the issue there. Go to there. Add manoeuvre, sorry. What to do is warp there. Ding, there we are. Do orbit like that. And we're going home at this point. Yes. So anyway, we've proved the rocket works. We've just proved its pilot doesn't. Anyway, never mind. At 30, that'll do, and do the usual warp here to get round to near where we need to be. Turn that into surface, so we'll be ready to go back. Yeah, where's Kerbin gone? It's around here somewhere. Have we seen a planet? We're around here somewhere. Ah, there we are. Hello, Kerbin. Found you. So there we are there. What we're now going to do is get a little bit closer. We're coming somewhere potentially quite weird here. I'm not quite sure where, but we're on a slightly more inclined arrival than we usually are. Right, a little bit more. we drop through the 150, it always stutters a little bit. I think that's where it's loading more detail. I could be wrong, but I think that's what's happening. And then get rid of that bit. Goodbye, faithful transit stage. And then on the parachute, and I will fast forward again, and I will catch you back on the ground, and we will try this again, except this time we will do it properly. And here we are back at the Space Centre. I actually recovered enough science to unlock something else, which I'm a little bit surprised at there. Well, I'm going to recover all of this. We're going to check whether or not I have any more interesting missions available. Another satellite launch meeting. And yeah, I'll take it. I mean, they're basically how you make the money in the game. So yeah, then we got in here. I have enough science to unlock something else. So what are we going to unlock? I think we said about advanced flight control. Yep, we'll have that one. This actually gives us a couple more pods, which is quite nice. And it specifically gives us all the RCS stuff, which this particular rocket doesn't need. So I'm not going to go in and start retrofitting that. What I'm going to do is reopen the Munlander X. There we go. Doesn't need anything else doing to it. I didn't mention possibly putting some control wheels in. Can't be bothered. Right, crew. We'll let Jeb fly it since he screwed it up last time. It wasn't me, honest. It was Jeb. Blame Jeb. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward this until we're in orbit, and then we will talk about what we're going to do again. Okay, here we are back in orbit. Actually quite near the two, fairly near the two we're supposed to be trying to rescue, which obviously this craft isn't designed to do. So, the plan has changed very slightly. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to make sure I deliver this satellite as the primary mission now. So that is the main goal. We are going to go there and we are going to deliver this satellite into Mun orbit. We are going to claim the rewards for doing this satellite into Mun orbit. And once we've done that, then we will look at the rendezvous if we have the capability. And bring that in a bit. We're going to bring that out like that. And that was obviously the wrong one I did, so we shall do that like so. Come around there. Like that. Lift it up a bit and a little bit more. Yeah. The beauty of this with the maneuver planner is basically you just fiddle with these things until you get the line basically where you want it to go. I need that to be back a little bit further, like so, and then I need it to be a bit higher, like that. And you see, it's not the orbit we need, but it's not too far off, and it's within the capability of this tank, so I'm quite happy with that. That'll get us there with about 900 odd left, which is enough to break into orbit and hopefully enough to get into that orbit. And then when that tank is empty, because I don't really want much spare fuel left in there. There's not a lot of point because we've got to drop that in order to release the satellite. The ideal place to put the satellite would be on the nose. Unfortunately, the nose is somewhat occupied by a parachute. So, a little bit harder to do. So I'm going to go to that. Sit on there. Go to the manoeuvre, or at least near the manoeuvre. And we're going to burn. It's an 80-second burn, so at about T-minus 40, we are going to fire the engines. Because ideally you want half the burn before and half the burn after the point. So let's go to T-minus 40, hit the boosters, and party on, as the saying goes. And for this sort of orbit, normally I burn. Oh, I'll burn a bit early. This sort of mission, you don't want to do that. You will actually follow the manoeuvre reasonably accurately. So here we go. Keep going. Keep going. Trust the plan. This thing should come out. You don't always get exactly what you expect with these manoeuvres. Hopefully here we will. Or at least it'll be close, which is the key bit. Zoom out. We should be able to see. See, there's the orbit increasing slowly. Yeah, see that? I mean, yeah, it's not perfect. It'll get us near. Basically, the further away from the mun I make the corrections, the less fuel it uses. So ideally, I could do a little correction to get me more centered over the mun's pole. I'll deal with that when I get here. It doesn't require as much fine adjustment, should we say? Let's throttle down a little bit. Actually, no, keep going at full whack, because let's chase that around. And there we are. That'll do. I'm going to plan another manoeuvre here, which is going to be the break into orbit manoeuvre. Basically, I want to make sure I've got enough fuel to do it in this stage. That'll get us to there. And when I've got that, I'll do the orbital rotation stuff. Yeah, so let's... with plenty of electric charge on board. So, I mean, that'll be an orbital retrograde braking manoeuvre. So, but by the time we're here, it'll be a little bit more awkward. So, let's see. That's the other advantage of this thing. I've got the solar panels, obviously, on the return stage. I've also got them on the satellite stage. Which does have a few other advantages. For one thing, it's going to make it an awful lot easier to get into orbit where we're going. Here I am going to just fire the engines. I just want to get into an orbit at this point. I'm not too fussed about where we're going. That's one thing about this game. You really do learn how orbital mechanics work. Yes, it's a simplified model. For example, here I'm only being affected by gravity from the mun. Kerbin's gravity is doing absolutely nothing to me at the moment, which is not strictly speaking how this works, but it's getting this. The ascending node. I'm now going to stick a maneuver here, and it's either that to get the orbital plane about right. And do that to shrink the orbit back down. Get the plane right again, like that. Let the orbit go up a bit. And you see there's a bit of fiddling. There's a little bit of fiddling and fettling, but that, again, is pretty much what I need to do. So what I'm going to do now is point this thing at that direction. I see, but again, this huge benefit of these maneuver planners is you can essentially just experiment with what you're going to do. So I mean, even if I had no plans whatsoever to do this, rendezvous, oh sorry, not this rendezvous, this orbit thing which I'm trying to do here. Dink, right, fast. I could still use the maneuver planner to do what I'm doing. There we go. Get the focus back on the ship itself. And then when we get there, well, T-5, I'll fire the engines again. And we should end up roughly where that orange line is. Which is not quite where I need it to be, but it's getting there. What I now do is kill the maneuver, and I'm actually going to continue that burn a little bit longer to get the orbital plane adjustment to be where it needs to be. Just like that. So this is telling the node are 0 and 0, which is what I want. What I now need to do is come to around here. Gets me there. I now need to hit a slight braking maneuver. Basically now I'm in the process of matching the orbit. I don't have to match where that little rotating dot is, which is rather thankful. So that now touches there. What I now need to do is go around to here. And then I can lower the other side of it down. We'll match that, we'll get the stability, and then we can... yeah, there we are, that's better, sorry. Hadn't yet rotated fully where I needed to be. Ah, there we are, look at that, and we've got the orbit. So we have that there. We haven't maintained the stability yet, but we will. It says build and generate a new unmanned probe. Right, so what I should be able to do now is we've now got this upper stage here. What I can now do, I'm hoping this is going to work. I mean, I've never actually tried doing this before, dropping one of these satellites off on a manned mission, but I'm hoping it works. Because what I'm now going to do is do that. Probe must be fully assembled when launched. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work, which is slightly annoying. Up there. Yes, it would appear that's not actually going to work, which is slightly frustrating, but there we are, never mind. What I want to do is, well, at this point, I might as well go and do the rendezvous mission, because that's not working. What I want to do is switch to focus to this, and for some reason it won't let me. So, yeah, anyway. That's in the appropriate orbit, it's just not working. That has got a little bit of fuel left in it, but not enough to worry about. So that's there. Right, and then the rendezvous mission is going to be set that to be my target. We're going... Where are we? We're... Oh, okay, which way around the orbit we're going? We're going this way, right. So when I get down here... Add a manoeuvre, and I need to go... Is that going in the correct direction? That's the thing. Yeah, and hit the... Oh, wrong one again. Hit the... Right, delete that, start that again. Basically, I need to get here and I need to rotate my orbit is what I need to do. So I've got to go there, add a manoeuvre. And it's either that one. It's not that one, it's that one. Again, delete that and start that again because it's trying to... Right. Yeah, I need to get there and I need to rotate the orbit so that instead of heading that way... Basically, I need to make this go all the way round to there, is what I need to do. Right, so... There. Add a manoeuvre, and if I just... I don't know, 50, what's that going to do? The wrong way. Minus 200. Right. And what that's doing is obviously it's making my orbit significantly larger at the same time, which I don't actually want to do. So I want to edit that. I also want to go into that and go minus 100. Minus 400. Minus. The orbital plane's still not quite where it needs to be. No, give me... Right. Minus 100. Still... Maneuver... Minus... Okay, that's got me in about the right orbital plane. Unfortunately... Nowhere near where I actually need it to be in terms of an orbit. Right, that's just screwing up completely. Yeah, basically I need to come here and fire on one. Right. I need to come here and I need to fire on the appropriate direction to rotate the orbit. Believe is the... Yes, I need to rotate that round all the way around there like so. So the way to do that is that off. And I believe it is then... It might be this one, it might be the other one. I'll find out in a sec. So I'm going to look that way. I'm going to do... It's the other way. This is... Just get to there. Right, and here, yeah, here's the problem, is that's going to keep moving, so I'm going to need to... if I rotate that, I should be able to do this a little bit more easily. So see, that's done part of it, but it's also lifting my orbit up a bit, so I need to go... This is going to be done in stages. I'll probably have to do this over a couple of orbits at this point. drop down like that. Then we'll go back to here. This is another one of when the Kerbals get a little bit more experienced, you can tell them to lock to the node and the anti-node bits. So again, the orbit's increasing slightly, but I can cope with that. Put it down again. So lift again for a little bit. See, I'm actually past the node point, but I'm not too bothered as long as I can get most of it done. Right, what I'm now going to do is leave that and wait until I get round to the other side of the orbit and do it again. So, warp to there. And here, I think I'm going to want the other one, because I'm now on the other side of the planet. Or the Mun. Or, yeah, whatever. So we go there and continue that burn. In theory, this doesn't have to be completely accurate. It does want to be reasonably so. Because I'm trying to get a rendezvous, I need it to be fairly accurate. So, yeah, what? Right, unset that as a target. Don't care about that. What I'm trying to do is get into this position here. Now, am I now... I'm exactly 180 degrees off what I need to be, so I have completely screwed this up. Because at some point during that manoeuvre I've ended up reversing what I was doing, so I'm going to have to... This isn't going well, is it? Really? Yeah, I'm in exactly the opposite orbit to what I need to be in. Okay, right. These plane changes are easier to do when you're a little bit further out. So what I'm going to do is take myself about as far out as I can get, and I'm then going to do it. There we go, that'll do. I'm going to go to there, I'm going to add a manoeuvre, and at this point it doesn't matter which of these I do. See, the problem with doing this is the manoeuvre itself doesn't want to work. Because again, I'm going to get, well, I'm going to do it manually. I'm going to go all the way here. And then I'm going to do a little bit of a rotation until I can get this ascending node thing, which I should really have been keeping a closer eye on. I realised it was going the wrong way. Yeah, anyway, never mind. Right, we're there. So what I now do is that. Oh! Yeah! Pressing the wrong button. Yes, so I'm going to go here. What I'm also going to do is rotate like so. Right. X that. So as this is going to slowly rotate around here, I can do something about it now. Follow gently round. I'm not giving up on this mission yet. I will not be beaten by this. Well, I probably will be, but you know what I mean. But this is using an awful lot less fuel. Basically, the deeper in the gravity well you are, the more expensive plane changes are. Because of physics. I can't explain it. I don't fully understand it myself. So that's there. That's coming down a little, which is fine. The idea here is get it into the right plane. And then we'll start to do what I did last time. What I need to do is get one half of the orbit, at least get the orbit slightly larger than the target. And what we then do is chase around and manoeuvre it a little bit until we get near to it. That's still descending, which is good. 18, 17. See, this would have been prohibitively expensive to do in low Mun orbit. But all the way out here, it's actually not too bad. There we are. Near as damn it, that'll do. What I now need to do is lower the periapsis to be like that. I can now warp to the periapsis and I can lower that as well. What I tried to do last time, I was trying to do a rendezvous from too large a distance and it's just not going to work. Basically I need to... debris appears to be on a suborbital... well, anyway, never mind. Yes, so I'm going to go there. I'm then going to just have a little look at this and go... Right. Now we're going the same way. Again, I've completely cocked it up. It's that I'm supposed to be lining up on, not this orbit. At this point, I'm aborting and I'm going to go home. I'm probably going to go and have a little cry somewhere. And then we are going to... yeah... We're going to try this again, and I'm going to try and do it properly. Let's get into Mun Escape. There we go. Where's that going to take me? All the way out there, which I don't really want. But where else in the orbit can I do this? That'll do. So, yeah. Spaceflight. How not to do it? Anyway, try again. Right. The only good point here, and it is a fairly slender one, is this craft is fairly capable. I see the purple is the orbit for the Kerbal satellite I need to do. So I'm now going to warp there. Go retrograde, which will let me go home. Yeah, the issue being... yeah, this is the problem exists between keyboard and chair moment again. Set that. Going to drop our periapsis down. And with the aim of getting down to about there will do. And that. Right, I'm going around that way, so I'm going to go there, walk there. Yeah, oh look, Kerbin. I like Kerbin. I like it so much I'm going home. Yeah, I might let Val on the next one because she actually knew what she was doing. Anyway, never mind. World's first milestones were return home. Yeah, anyway. What this obviously tells me, the first thing is I actually need to do this not with a manned rocket. Because I want to do that rendezvous mission as well. That's obviously got to be a probe I launch as a probe, not a probe I carry and then drop, which is slightly annoying. So I think the next time we do this, this is going to be just a satellite. Which will help. I mean, it'll be a lot lighter, it'll use even less fuel than this thing did. But until that, we shall go home. That, parachute. I'll meet you back at the space station, space centre. So we are back at the space centre. We do have that as an experiment to do quickly, and that. I'm just going to do those two because they are extremely simple to do, and I can show you how we do these as just ways of making money, really. So I'm going to do that. Fly. So we need science from space around Kerbin. Well, here I have a satellite which is in orbit around Kerbin. I'm going to do that. I'm going to log the temperature, and I'm going to transmit it. And if you watch up here, there we are, we've completed that contract. And that really is as simple as that. So once you've got these satellites up there, that is absolute trivia. The other one was space around the Mun. Well, that's, again, fairly straightforward. So we go over to tracking station. Munlander X relay. Well, let's go there, shall we? So here we are, we have this one here, side data from space around the Mun. Where's the thermometer on that? There we are. Log temperature, transmit. Oh look, we've completed that one as well. So yeah, that's, we've scored a little bit of science for that, but mostly we've scored money for doing that. Any others here that might be interesting? Satellite in an equatorial orbit of Mun. Possibly useful. However, I've got these. I want to clear that one. The reason I want to clear that one is that will generate another world's first contract. However, that is for the next episode. So thank you very much for sticking with this absolute calamity of how not to fly rockets. At least I've proved the Munlander X design works, which is useful, or at least it works for getting to Mun and getting back. I've not actually tried landing it yet. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you very much, and goodbye.